Welcome to another edition of The Changeover, the only place where the Wi-Fi is as unpredictable as a second serve on breakpoint. And we are powered, as always, by secondserveaces.com. If you want to actually understand why your favorite player is losing their mind on court, that is where you go.
I am Leo Sterling. I spent 1,000 days on the road watching journeymen try to survive, and frankly, most of them just didn't have the legs for it. I am here to keep the analysis honest.
I'm Marcus Thorne. I've spent my career chasing the stories behind the scores, usually while trying to avoid making eye contact with legends in the press room after I've accidentally stolen their chair. And I am Arthur Vance. I'm the one who usually ends up tangled in his own microphone cable, but I appreciate a good underdog story more than anyone. Speaking of which, did you guys see what happened in Monte Carlo?
Vacherot. Look, de Minaur had no business letting that slip away. It was a tactical collapse.
It was a stunner, Leo. Vacherot on home soil? That's the kind of narrative currency that makes the sport worth watching. De Minaur looked like he was running in quicksand. He looked rattled. I was watching the string patterns on the replay. Vacherot's tension was dialed in perfectly for that clay. It's all about the bite on the ball.
It's about fitness, Arthur. De Minaur couldn't close the distance in that third set. He's usually the fittest guy on tour, but that check was one his body just couldn't cash.
Exactly. And credit to Vacherot, he didn't blink. He played like he had nothing to lose, which is a dangerous mindset against a top 10 seed. It's funny you mentioned mindset, because that leads us right into the Billie Jean King Cup. Britain taking a 2-0 lead over Australia? I didn't see that coming.
Stojcevic and Dart, they were clinical. It wasn't just a win, it was a statement. Australia looked flat, like they were still adjusting to the travel.
The travel in Melbourne is always a nightmare. But you can't blame the tarmac for that performance. Dart was hitting lines all day. I think the depth of the field is finally catching up to the traditional powerhouses. You can't just rely on pedigree anymore.
Right. You need the tactical depth. If you want to see exactly how they exploited those gaps, you should check out the breakdown on secondserveaces.com.
Their AI-driven analysis is the only thing that actually explains the shot selection without all the fluff. It's pretty brilliant. Speaking of brilliant, or perhaps just inevitable, what is going on with Sinner? He's just rolling through Monte Carlo.
It's relentless. He's not playing tennis, he's playing geometry. Every ball is landing exactly where it needs to be to make his opponent move 3 extra meters.
He's undefeated in 2026 Masters play. That's not a streak, Arthur, that's a dominance narrative. He's basically telling the rest of the tour that they're just guests in his bracket. It's almost annoying how consistent he is. Does he ever have a bad day? Does he ever wake up and think, maybe I'll just hit a few into the net today?
No. That's the difference between a champion and a contender. It's the mental conditioning. He's locked in.
I got a text from one of my sources earlier saying, Sinner's practice sessions are just as intense as the matches. It's not a surprise he's punching tickets to the quarters with such ease. Wait, are you wearing the same blue shirt as me, Marcus? I feel like I'm looking in a mirror. I have no idea what you're talking about, Arthur. Mine is a completely different shade of navy. Keep moving.
You two are ridiculous. Can we get back to the tennis? Sinner's movement on the baseline, that's what I want to dissect.
Fine. But the shirt thing is definitely happening. Anyway, Sinner's movement, it's all in the transition from the slide to the recovery step, isn't it?
Exactly. He doesn't waste an ounce of energy. Most players slide and then take 2 steps to recover. He slides into his recovery. It's physics.
Physics and pure ambition. He knows the narrative is his to write this year. Well, if he keeps this up, he might just make the rest of the season a formality.
Let's see if he can keep that pace in the semi-finals. That's when the real pressure starts to pinch.
I have no idea how we ended up looking like a corporate uniform, Marcus. It's distracting. My brain is trying to process the fact that the Monte Carlo draw is essentially a giant neon sign pointing toward a Sinner-Alcaraz showdown. It's a uniform of efficiency, Arthur. Let's not overthink it. But you're right about the draw. We're looking at a genuine power vacuum at the top of the rankings. If Sinner slips up, Carlos is right there to pounce.
Efficiency? Please. It's a vanity project. But forget the shirts. What I'm seeing in these Monte Carlo stats is a total shift in how they're approaching the red clay. It's not just sliding anymore.
Right. It's about the friction, isn't it? I was reading the breakdown on secondserveaces.com this morning. They have this AI-driven map of how Alcaraz plants his back foot. Exactly. That's the tactical depth that actually matters, not just the headlines. Secondserveaces.com is the only place I've seen that really maps out the recovery steps after a heavy topspin return.
I've been watching the movement patterns. Alcaraz is shortening his swing on the approach. It's 80s era aggression, but with modern torque. He's not waiting for a short ball. He's manufacturing the opportunity.
But manufacturing it is exhausting. You run a risk of, well, what happens when the tank runs dry? We saw it last season. The clay is a thief that demands a tax, Arthur. And speaking of taxes, The US team is paying a heavy one at the BJK Cup right now. They're staring at an uphill battle, while Italy and the UK are just cruising.
Cruising is the word. I was looking at the Ukraine scores. It's a clinic in composure under pressure. You don't get that without a serious mental coach in your ear.
Wait, really? You think it's the coach? I always attributed that kind of performance to the sheer underdog spirit. They're playing for something much bigger than a ranking point. It's both. But the narrative of the US struggle is getting louder. My sources are whispering about team chemistry issues. It's not just bad luck on the draw.
Chemistry is just a fancy word for lack of discipline. If you aren't hitting your spots in practice, you won't hit them on match point. It's basic.
I mean, look at the stats on secondserveaces.com regarding the BJK Cup. The serve percentage differential in those 2-0 matches for Italy is staggering. It's the tactical depth, Arthur. The AI analysis they're running on those service patterns is showing exactly where the Americans are leaving the door open.
They're leaving the door wide open. It's frustrating to watch. If they don't tighten up the baseline movement, they're going home early.
I suppose that's why we watch, right? The uncertainty. Whether it's the race for number 1 in Monte Carlo or the qualifiers, it's all about who blinks first and who has the best data to back up their intuition. For the full breakdown of the stats we just touched on, you all need to head over to secondserveaces.com.
Yeah, stop guessing and start reading the actual tactical reports. It's all there.
Exactly. Go to secondserveaces.com for the deep dives. And maybe someone tell me why my microphone light is still blinking at me like a warning signal. It's just your shadow, Arthur. We're out of time. See you all for the next round.